There's a moment you probably know too well. You stop texting first. You stop over-explaining. You stop reaching. And at first, nothing dramatic happens. No movie scene, no grand confession. Just a strange, almost eerie quiet. Their name stops lighting up your phone. The space between you gets wider. And one night, maybe while you're sitting on your bed with that dull ache in your chest, you realize something that feels both devastating and freeing at the same time. They're really letting this happen. So this is what it feels like. If I stop holding it together, does it just fall apart? Did they ever care the way I cared? Why does me choosing myself feel like grief? Here's the truth that changes the whole story. When you finally let go of an avoidant, it's not always your absence that shocks them. It's the sudden loss of access to someone who kept the connection alive for both of you. You're not crazy for feeling this deeply. You're not weak for loving hard. And you are not hard to love. By the end of this video, you're going to understand what an avoidant often secretly feels when you stop chasing, stop rescuing, and stop making emotional distance easier for them to live inside. And more importantly, you'll understand why letting go is often the first moment the truth becomes real for both of you. Let's get into it. Most people believe avoidants feel one thing when you let go: relief. More space, less pressure, no difficult conversations, no one asking them to be more emotionally available, no one pulling them closer than they want to go. But the real truth is much deeper than that. Because avoidant people don't just get triggered by closeness, they also get triggered by loss, by emotional exposure, by the moment the person who kept turning toward them finally stops. Their nervous system may look calm on the outside, but that doesn't mean nothing is happening beneath the surface. A lot is happening. It's just happening in silence. That's what most couples miss. What looks like detachment is often protection. What looks like indifference is often overwhelm. What looks like they never cared is very often a person who learned long ago that needing someone feels unsafe, so they disconnect before they can fully feel how much it matters. And here's what nobody explains. As long as you are still there, still reaching, still trying to repair, still carrying the emotional labor of the bond, they can stay half inside it, half committed, half present, half vulnerable. But once you let go, the pattern breaks. The buffer disappears. The distance is no longer controlled, it becomes real. And that is when an avoidant often starts feeling things they were able to outrun before. The first thing they often feel is that the silence stops feeling safe. Most people in relationships assume avoidants want distance, period. But most avoidants don't actually want total disconnection. They want manageable distance. They want closeness with an exit. They want connection without the full demand of emotional exposure. As long as you were still there, even hurt, they could tell themselves the bond still existed. You were still accessible, still emotionally invested, still somewhere in orbit. Then you stop, and the silence changes. It's no longer, "I just need space." It becomes, "Wait, are they really gone?" That hits differently. That lands in the body. Because now the absence is not theoretical. It's not a pause. It's not a game of emotional tug-of-war. It's loss. Real loss. You can hear the difference in the way these moments play out. The disconnecting version sounds like this: "I just need time. Why are you making this such a big deal?" The connecting version would have sounded like, "I'm overwhelmed, but I don't want to lose you. I need a little space, and I need you to know I still care." That second response requires presence. It requires courage. It requires staying emotionally awake. And when they didn't do that, Your letting go forces them to sit in the emptiness their distance created. That's when the walls they used to call peace start to feel a lot more like loneliness. And this is the one most couples never figure out. They often feel rejected in the exact way they rejected you. Not always consciously, not always immediately, but deeply. Most couples think the avoidant is the one with all the power, because they pull away first, delay first, detach first. But beneath the surface, many avoidant people are highly sensitive to rejection. They just experience it differently. They fear being engulfed, yes, but they also fear being unimportant. They fear being exposed as not enough. They fear needing someone who might leave. So they protect first. They withdraw first. They create emotional distance before anyone can hurt them there. Then you finally stop pursuing, and something in them registers it as rejection, even if they logically know why, even if your leaving made complete sense, even if you begged for connection for months and got almost nothing back. Their internal experience can still sound like, "So they really gave up on me," or "I guess I didn't matter enough for them to stay." Here's the painful irony, bro. What they may secretly feel in that moment is a smaller version of what you've been carrying for a long time. The ache of not being reached for, the sting of not being chosen, the grief of feeling someone emotionally step away while still technically being there. The disconnecting version sounds like this. You say, "I feel alone with you," and they answer, "You're too needy." The connecting version would sound like, "I know I shut down when things get intense, but I can hear that you feel alone, and I don't want to keep making you feel that way." That shift matters so much, because when someone names the pain instead of defending against it, repair becomes possible. And when they don't, the relationship starts to feel less like a home and more like a room where only one person is allowed to have needs. Here's the part no one talks about. They also often feel curiosity too late. Most couples don't become conscious until the pattern breaks. That's just real. When the relationship is still intact, people can live inside habits for years. Delay the conversation, minimize the problem, assume tomorrow will still offer the same access as today. But when you let go, something shifts. The emotional noise quiets down, the chasing stops, the familiar cycle disappears, and now they have room to actually feel what your presence used to do for them. This is where it gets really interesting. They may start revisiting moments they brushed off before. Your long texts, your hurt face during that dinner, the way your voice sounded flat the last time you said, "It's okay," the goodbye you meant even when you didn't say it yet. Their mind starts stitching together a story their nervous system was too defended to absorb in real time. And often the internal monologue sounds like this. "She was not asking for too much. She was asking me to be there." Or, "He wasn't trying to control me. He was trying to feel close to me." That's a brutal realization when it comes late. The disconnecting version sounds like this. "Why are you bringing this up again? I thought we already talked about it." The connecting version sounds like, "I think I dismissed this before because I felt pressured, but I can see now that it mattered more than I wanted to admit." That's not a communication hack. That's emotional maturity. That's someone finally telling the truth. And when truth enters the room, even late, the relationship stops feeling like a mystery and starts feeling heartbreakingly clear. Then comes something even quieter. They feel the loss of emotional access, not just the loss of you, not your face, not just your body, not just your routine, your access. Most couples think attachment is built in the big moments, vacations, anniversaries, deep talks at midnight, but real attachment is built in the tiny moments. The "text me when you get home," the "You seem off. What's going on?" The look across the room that says, "I'm still with you." Intimacy is not built in fireworks. It's built in emotional availability over time. So when you finally let go, what they often lose is not just the person. It's the experience of being quietly known by someone. Someone who noticed their moods. Someone who understood their patterns. Someone who kept making room for the parts of them they never learned to share well. And yes, they may have taken that for granted, absolutely. But that does not mean it meant nothing. The disconnecting version sounds like this. You say, "I miss feeling close to you." And they answer, "Why does everything have to be so serious?" The connecting version sounds like, "I know I make light of this when I feel pressured, but I think I miss that closeness too. I just don't always know how to stay in it." That kind of honesty is rare, but it's real, and it changes everything. Because when someone loses emotional access, they don't just miss what you did for them. They miss how they got to feel in your presence. Less alone, less exposed, more grounded, more real. And this is where avoidants often start feeling grief, even if they don't call it that. Not dramatic grief, not always visible grief, but grief all the same. Most people in relationships expect grief to look soft, open, obvious. Tears, pleading, regret spoken out loud. But avoidant grief is often hidden beneath structure, routine, work, distraction, rationalizing, new goals, new distractions, new people. Anything that helps them avoid sitting still long enough to feel what's underneath. Because grief asks for surrender. And surrender is terrifying to a nervous system trained to survive through control. So instead of saying, "I miss them," they may say, "It was probably for the best." Instead of saying, "I'm hurting," they may say, "I just have a lot going on right now." Instead of saying, "I wish I had done more," they may bury themselves in busyness and call it moving on. But beneath the surface, the body knows. It knows when someone mattered. It knows when a bond is broken. It knows when a familiar source of connection is gone. This isn't about romanticizing their pain. It's about understanding it. Because not all grief sounds like longing. Sometimes it sounds like numbness. Sometimes it sounds like irritability. Sometimes it sounds like, "I don't even know why I feel off lately." And what's moving through them, whether they can name it or not, is often, "I didn't think losing this would hit me like this." The disconnecting version sounds like, "I'm fine. It is what it is." The connecting version would sound like, "I think I'm more affected than I wanted to admit, and I don't really know what to do with that." That's the shift. The moment the performance of not caring starts cracking enough for something human to come through. And when that happens, the relationship is no longer just a story about distance. It becomes a story about unprocessed pain. But here's what nobody explains. They may also feel shame. Not just sadness, not just regret, shame. Most couples talk about breakups like one person loved and the other person didn't. But a lot of avoidant dynamics are not that simple. Many avoidants do feel love. They just struggle to translate love into sustained emotional presence. And when you finally leave, they may have to face a truth that's hard to outrun. I may have cared and still failed to show up. That realization cuts deep, because now it's not just about losing you. It's about confronting the gap between how they saw themselves and how they actually loved. Maybe they told themselves they were independent, easygoing, low maintenance, unbothered. But now they have to sit with the possibility that what they called independence was emotional unavailability. What they called peace was withdrawal. What they called needing space was a pattern that kept intimacy at arm's length until it was gone. That internal monologue can sound like, "Maybe I pushed away someone who was actually trying to love me." and man, that is not a light thought to carry. The disconnecting version sounds like this: "You deserve someone better," said as a way to exit responsibility. The connecting version sounds like, "I can see how my distance hurt you, and I hate that I made love feel lonely." That sentence matters because it holds truth without hiding behind it. No defensiveness, no performance, no vague self-awareness that changes nothing. Just ownership. And ownership is where repair always begins, whether it saves the relationship or not. Because that's the moment someone stops protecting their image and starts facing their impact. And here's what changes everything. Sometimes your letting go becomes the first real mirror they've ever had. Not louder conversations, not more compromise, not one final perfect explanation, but consequences that feel real enough to break denial. Most couples live inside cycles so long that they start mistaking them for personality. She's just emotional. He's just distant. This is just how we are. But patterns are not identity. They are adaptations. And when you finally step out of the anxious, avoidant cycle, the whole system changes. There is no one left to overfunction, no one left to keep knocking, no one left to make disconnection feel manageable. And that forces reflection. Maybe not immediately, maybe not gracefully, but often, eventually. They begin to see that your reactions were not random. Your hurt was not irrational. Your repeated attempts at repair were not weakness. They were signals. Signals that the relationship had been starving for something both of you needed. Safety, consistency, emotional presence. The disconnecting version sounds like, "You always made everything heavier than it needed to be." The connecting version sounds like, "I think you were carrying the emotional weight I kept avoiding, and I didn't understand that until you stopped." That's the kind of insight people usually arrive at late, after the drift, after the breakup, after the nervous system has no more distractions and has to finally tell the truth. And when that truth lands, your absence stops being an inconvenience and starts being a teacher. And finally, this is the part that hurts and heals at the same time. They may feel longing, but still not have the capacity to come back differently. That's a hard truth, but it's a freeing one, and you need to hear it. Most people assume that if an avoidant misses you enough, they'll return transformed, more open, more ready, more emotionally available. But missing you and having the capacity to love you well are not the same thing. Longing is not repair. Regret is not readiness. Feelings do not automatically become relational maturity. This is where so many people get hooked again, because the avoidant reaches out, or watches your stories, or sends the "just checking in" text, or says they've been thinking about you. And your heart, already tender, wants to believe that pain created growth. Sometimes it did. Sometimes it didn't. You have to know the difference. The disconnecting version sounds like, "I miss you. Can we just go back to how things were?" The connecting version sounds like, "I miss you, but more than that, I can see the pattern I kept repeating. I'm working on why closeness scares me, and I know missing you isn't enough if I can't show up differently." That's the line. Not whether they feel something, whether they can hold something, whether they can stay. Because the relationship you wanted was never going to be built on hidden feelings alone. It had to be built on presence, on repair, on someone who could remain emotionally available when things got uncomfortable, not just sentimental once you were gone. So if you finally let go of an avoidant, and part of you still wonders what they secretly feel, the answer is this: often more than they know how to say, and much later than they know how to carry. They may feel the silence, the rejection, the grief, the shame, the loss of emotional access, the truth of your absence. They may even feel love more clearly once they can no longer lean on your constant presence to buffer them from it. But here's the thing. Their feelings do not rewrite your experience. Their hidden pain does not erase the loneliness you lived through, and their delayed clarity does not obligate you to return to a dynamic that kept costing you your peace. This isn't about becoming harder. It's about becoming clearer. It's about becoming whole. When you internalize this, you stop measuring love by how intensely someone feels behind the scenes and start measuring it by how safely, consistently, and honestly they can show up in the relationship itself. You stop chasing potential. You stop confusing longing with connection. You stop abandoning yourself just because someone else is afraid to be fully known. These aren't tips for getting them back. They're the beginning of becoming the kind of person who no longer mistakes emotional unavailability for depth. The kind of person who can recognize chemistry without calling it safety. The kind of person who understands that real love is not just being wanted in secret, it's being met in the open. And if that's where you are right now, you're not losing love. You're losing a cycle. And that is the beginning of everything real. Real intimacy doesn't begin when someone finally realizes your value after losing you. It begins the moment you decide your love deserves to be met while you're still there.